Hi all, welcome to this African Cup of Nations Road to the Final concept. I really have loved this kind of idea, and I'm implementing a wee system. That's why some of the cards that you're initially seen don't initially look appealing, but I'll get into it in due course. So it'd be awesome to have, but let me know folks your thoughts on this. Would you like the African Cup of Nations to have had special cards throughout? They could still do it, but obviously the leakers would have probably said by now. But regardless, the way I've worked this is 16 cards in total, with a team of most likely 14, or 11, in fact 11, with possibly 3 of the players being, 2 or 3 being SBCs, and 1 silver star, 1 weekly objective, but I didn't want to just be all like say silver, like whoever for SBCs, just because it's not a guarantee, and if I might as well just show how I roughly format it anyways. So the theme was, even though some of these players may not necessarily be there, like Ziyech obviously got problems with Morocco, so but I was primarily looking for Soro, for example. It was just trying to be giving a bit of variety and just taking it from there. Because some of these cards, when you look at them from a face stats perspective, if you do the right kind of upgrades, and depending how the team was to progress, it'd be a nice change of pace and a bit of fun as well. So Ziyech, basically everyone's given 2 initial inform upgrades just to give them a starting platform. So that's how it's like 83s, 84s, 85 and an 87. So yes, it may look repetitive in that sense, but at the same time, the way that we are implementing our upgrade system, which I'll get to in a few minutes, it's basically what I've tried to do is for the 16 teams, the 16 nations I've picked, is basically when I looked at the betting of the 16 nations, it was my guide, and these were the 16 teams, and also because it goes from 24 down to 16, it also just seemed very logical in that sense, because you never know, someone like Gambia, for example, with Barrow, Gambia could go a run, they could qualify from their group 3rd and suddenly go on a little run. It usually happens, there's always one nation goes on a little run, and if that was to happen, then you would suddenly have any of these kind of players suddenly getting juiced up very nicely. And the way I look at it as well, like Ziyech is Prem, Bennacer is Serie A, Diallo is Ligue 1, Haidar is Bundesliga, Serie A again with Barrow, Saudi League with Slitty, Ligue 1 for Bouanga, Greek League for Kamara, MLS for Jamiro Montero, Bundesliga for Choupo-Moting, Turkish League for Mustafa Mohamed, Nanu is the Liga Portugal or Liga NOS, Championship for Baba, Abdul Babarahman, and then Leon Balogun obviously ties in for Rangers in the Scottish Premiership, Bertrand Traore for Prem for Aston Villa, and Soro for the Scottish Prem with Celtic. And it just seemed quite logical really. I was just being quite tactical with options, and even when you give them 2 initial upgrades, like Camera for an 84 for initial upgrades is very usable in my opinion. I would say 83 pace, 81 shot, 80 pass, 82 dribbling, 81 defending and 90 physical. He's going like plus, I think it was plus 7 or plus 8, I think it was plus 7 if memory serves right. And if Guinea were to go on a run, then you never know, like because of how I've implemented everything, he could have 99 physical and then everything in the 90s. That would then get you a bit excited, like, but at the same time I'm fully aware the upgrade system that I would implement isn't say given simply due to maybe say the tournament, but also they may follow a similar format but just change it accordingly. But with obviously silver stars, because obviously if you've seen Schlotterbeck, he's a 72 card for the object, like when you complete him. If he gets his headliner boost, he would go to 74. The way they've worked it is it's 71 to 72 to 79, and then the upgrade would be an 82, so it's everything's like plus 3s basically. And then obviously if he gets any other informs, then it's just gets not necessarily convoluted, it just becomes a little bit more trickier in that sense. But for me, this would be the 16 cards that you get. I wouldn't imagine more than 16, simply because I can't see them justifying it over the month. It would just be one team. The only way I could see them do 2 teams is if they're trying to do like the bigger nations like Morocco, like Cameroon, like Senegal, anyone that they think's got a real, or Nigeria, anyone that's got a real chance of like winning it. They'll probably take the 4 main nations, as it were. So from there, like the upgrade system is maybe it could be easy, could be hard, I'm not sure. Basically, obviously the initial card is an 84 for like Barrow, 72 for Soro, and from there what you find is that the cards are basically given an initial upgrade when they win their group game. So if they win the group game, they get a plus, they get an inform upgrade. So obviously with them being an 84, they would go to an 86. Then if they were to win match day 2, they would go to an 87. And then if they were to win match day 3, and because they've most likely progressed from the group, they would go from an 87 to an 89. And then from there, it's like if they win the last 16 tie, it's 91, win the quarterfinal tie, it's a 93, win the semi-final, and so forth and so forth. For obviously Silver Star, if it was to be, say in this instance, Soro, basically he would go, because his base card is 71, he would go from what it should be is the initial card would be actually deemed as a 78, so that's how everything's probably quite boosted up on his initial base card. Because he's a 78, the next upgrade would be an 82, so it's 82 is what the second card is, match day 3 would be the 84, 86 for potentially the last 16 card, and then so forth and so forth. So in theory, the card that would win it could be like an 89 rated card for stats, but it's rated 74. And it is worth highlighting the weak foot and skill moves upgrades would only become applicable, or should only become applicable, once you've qualified from your group, not in the group stage. So it's like with each round progression, so it's like the last 16, quarterfinal, etc. So I'm fully aware as well that there is a third place playoff in the African Cup of Nations. If your team was to lose the semi-final, you can't get an upgrade in the final. That is it. So if, for example, if say Gambia were to get beaten in the semis to say Cameroon, then Barrow's upgrade would finish there at like say 93 raid, as it were. He wouldn't be entitled to anything else, and he's like 4-4, so there is a chance that by the time you reach the semi-final, he's like 5-5 as well, so you'd suddenly have a 99 pace card with 91. Like at the same time, it's not the most feasible. Like if they were to implement this kind of format, they may just do like +1 for every round, so that way there's still maybe say 7 or 8 upgrades, but it's like 84 with the best version of say Barrow being a 92, for example. They may completely adjust it. The reason why I've went 95 is also because when you think by the time the final comes about in February, there'll be like Team of the Year all passed, there'll been a lot of good cards out there. These are just a complete alternative and a bit of fun as well. Some of them will link brilliantly, some won't, and it's just, at the end of the day, it's trying to keep up with the power curve but also have a bit of fun at the game's in essence the game's expenses will help, and it just brings new cards into the system as well, because some of these players may or may not get specials at all. This is the way to kind of give them that opportunity. So as I said, we will see what happens. As I said, I've tried to kind of follow the same format you usually get for Road to the Final, for like upgrades. If I think I've kind of nailed it right. I might be off somewhere, but as I said, let me know in the comments if your thoughts on this. Would you like this? Smash the like, always folks, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch you all later.